Hello, everybody. We are live. Hope you guys are doing well. Um, I'm kind of waiting on Ed right now because I think I confused him this morning. I don't know for whatever reason. In my pea brain, I was thinking that we were going live today, 11 my time, which would have been 12, 1, 2 o'clock his time. I was way off. I was actually even telling people in in Kyle's live stream today that we were going to go after him, and boy was I wrong. And I apologize for everybody that was under that impression. Uh, but I know I had told Ed, I don't know, it was probably 11 my time, and I said, "Hey, I'm backstage. If you want to come and join me." And he was like, "Oh, what do you mean?" So I was like, early, early, early. And so I just sent him a message now. Hopefully, he's not all confused. I haven't confused him a lot. I know he's on Eastern Standard Time, so we had agreed at 4 o'clock his time. So if you guys are in the East Coast, I'm assuming it's 4 o'clock, right? Maybe I got that wrong. But anyways, he'll be showing up. I know that. Um, it didn't help that I was scatterbrained this morning. So, but I'll start off by acknowledging those of you guys that are here. Sorry about the camera movement. I'm trying to adjust this. Linda Worth, thank you for being here. Why are we always yelling, Sam? Thank you for being here. MNC Aquatics, thank you, Mike. Greg, thanks for being here. Let's see, who else? Uncle Smiley, thank you for coming in. Prodigal Aquarius, Don, thank you so much for coming in. Fathom Aquatics, hey Alex. Um, Cheryl Smith, thanks for being here. And I know everybody will start kind of rolling in, and so I'll just get us going a little bit. I'm sure Ed's going to be popping in anytime soon. Again, a lot of it is my mix up. I don't know why I woke up this morning thinking that we were going to be going at 11 o'clock my time when it was actually scheduled for 1. But anyways, and was that a dude? Thank you for coming in, Jesse. Salem Aquatics, thanks for dropping in. And so, with that being said, I guess we'll just talk a little bit about I, what do I want to say? I got a lot of things going through my. Anyway, so the reason I'm pretty happy to have Ed come on here is because uh, he's probably one of the very first uh, YouTubers that I started watching regularly. So this is kind of so you guys get a little bit of perspective of how long I've been watching uh, live streams on YouTube. This was at a time, and I can't remember what year it was because it's been a while now. I think Thursday nights, if I'm not mistaken, there was like this the schedule that was kind of implemented where I think it started off with the Aquarium Co-op going live, and they would go on for X amount of time, and then he would kick everybody over to KG Tropicals, and then KG Tropicals would go live, and then after KG Tropicals, you would have uh, James and Ed going live, and that was kind of like the schedule. I think it was either Thursdays or Wednesday nights. I can't remember. I know some of you guys that have been here just as long as I have. It would probably correct me on the dates and the sequence of events. And I remember that was kind of like the highlight of the week was being able to watch those live streams because they were really good. And it was funny how they would all kind of drive people from one channel to the other. Alex says, I hung out with Ed several times in person. He has always been a blast to be around. Yeah, and it's funny because when he was on with James and himself, I don't think Ed was a little bit more quieter. He really didn't say much. He didn't speak up as much as James would. He would drive the conversation. So I really couldn't get a read for Ed. But the more that I started seeing him, and I think after James had to move, Ed kind of started going on his own. That's when you really, or at least I did, really got to get to see who Ed was. And there hasn't been a person who has met Ed uh, and not said nice things about him. And he comes off as being genuinely a nice person, even on on his live streams or anything that he does. He just um, I don't think there's uh, any meanness. Well, I wouldn't say that because I guess if anybody pushes this far enough, they'll find that. But he's always very approachable, and I've always been impressed of how much he does for other people that you don't hear about. And one of the biggest things where that really came into factor was I didn't realize how much he was involved when Akashela was thriving. That was a big surprise to me when I found out that when they pretty much kicked him out, which I think that was the stupidest thing that Akashela has done because ever since then it's just been straight decline. And every year it just gets sadder and sadder, and every year they promise that they're going to go back to the way it used to be, and it hasn't happened yet. And not that he was the only one, because it was a whole board of people that were involved in this. But he was the one that the days of the event would basically be running um, the the whole I guess content creators booth and coordinated all these things, and I didn't even know that. I came to find that out later on, and not even through him. This is just from other people that were speaking highly of the things that he's done. So I've always been intrigued with Ed because he doesn't say a lot, but he does a lot, which is I've always find those people very interesting. But when I started finding out that that was going on, it didn't take very long to see the decline and for you to realize how much he was really contributing to that. And that, as far as I know, they weren't even taking a fee for that. I've heard other stuff where they were paying for their for their stay and all that stuff, but I think it's a fair trade off for as much as they were doing, because they were really involved the whole year. It wasn't like it was just a couple of weekends and stuff like that. As far as I understand, the the committee, they were meeting regularly and planning every time for each year, and you could see when it first hit, um, where you first started finding out that the event was going on, you could see how rapidly it was growing, and it every year it seemed like the place to be. What the energy, the excitement that I see currently at the Clash is what I could equate what it used to be like when they had the content creators, I guess, board or committee or whatever it was, because it's basically the same people that got run out of Akashela and now have turned their energy to these other events. And so they've kind of they've been able to pick that up. Someone texted, yeah, I texted him already. Let me do it again. um he was going to go for a swim before we went live, so let me he's probably going, what, again? Did you get it wrong again? And so I just texted him. Maybe I should call him. No, that would be too putting him on the spot. I don't know Ed that well. Where if it was Alex, I'd be calling him up and putting him on the spot. Hey, Sarah, thanks for coming in. Let me see who else has come in here, because I know I've seen a few of you guys pop in. Night Owl, thanks for dropping in. Yes, this is supposed to be an Ed, and he should be coming. Price tag, Joe, thanks for being here. Let's see who else. Oh, Ed. Ed's Aquatics and Exotics. Xanadu, thanks for dropping in. Let's see. Oh, Kyle. Yeah, I've got it all wrong, Kyle. You were supposed to listen to this on your drive to work, and Numbers are hard. Yeah, they're especially for me. I don't know. I'm not the brightest one. So you know, that's why I kind of like to plan these out. But I don't know. Today I was totally off. It's not coming. I don't know. He should be. He said he was. I know when I talked to him earlier and I had him all confused. He was ready to come. Um, I'm just hoping there isn't a mix up on the time on my end because we had agreed that he was in Eastern time and it was supposed to be 4 o'clock Eastern, which I'm assuming it's 4 o'clock Eastern. Uh, let's see. Benjamin Peters, thank you for coming in. Sarah says you did good interviews. Uh, I don't know. Are they interviews? I look at them more as having conversations. I'll ask questions here or there, but I've I've always been intrigued um, by people because I know that most of us, and I've said this before, the common thread is that we keep aquariums, but we're a lot more complicated than just the aquariums that we keep. I couldn't find anything good. I couldn't find any good cigars at the local smoke shop on the way home. Getting ready for yeah, it's gonna be a while before I smoke a cigar on a live stream. Probably not till the fall. It is way too hot to be in the garage, and I'm not gonna sit there and smoke a cigar. That's why I'm indoors. This time of the year, probably from now until I don't know October, any live streams that I do are probably going to be inside the house. I kind of enjoy the AC and 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 the comforts of climate control. And I know it would not last more than a minute. I don't think I would be able to finish my lighting my cigar when my wife would run me out of the house. I wouldn't want to smoke in the house either, though. They do sell. I was You gotta say, okay, you look kind of naked without the fish tanks behind you. Well, I could fix that. I just thought I need to get a legit green screen though to be able to get that to work. Because here we'll go with my favorite with Alex's fish room. This is my favorite virtual background that I like to use. There you go. This is Alex's fish room right here, and he allows me to use it as one of my backgrounds. Yeah, Central. Yeah, it's. I got the ceiling fans running, and I've got the AC, which I'm thinking about uh turning it down a little bit so that it gets a little bit cooler because it feels warm. I'll be right back. Let me see. I think I have it running at 78. I'll probably drop it a little bit cooler. Yeah, we're scheduled to be, I think, like 105 or 109, something like that for today. Is what I think the forecast is. Let's see. It says hot, hot now. No kidding. What does the internet say about our weather? Oh man, this is slow. Let's see. Weather insight. It's 100 degrees right now outside. What's going to be the high? It's got to be somewhere like 105 or 109. It's not bad. 102. That's still we're not full summer yet. Full summer is like 114, 116 for us. I appreciate you showing us my fish. Yeah, Alex, it's a nice fish room. I mean, I don't know why you don't show it off more often. You should, but yeah, this is Alex's fish room back here, and so I don't know. Let me see. I might have to actually call up for a second and find out if if I didn't confuse him too much. Let me give him a call, find out what's going on. Yeah, he's on his way. He said to give him about 5 minutes. So you guys got to deal with me for another 5 minutes before Ed gets here. Um, but yeah, he's coming. At least now we know he's coming because that's really why you're here. Let's not kid ourselves. Mm. Yeah, but like I was saying, it's just been one of those things where Ed is probably one of the people that I've been following the longest. Just about as the same time that I discovered Aquarium Co-op and KG Tropicals. Um, Tell him you already gave him 15. No, I'm not going to do that because the reality is I'm the one that caused all this confusion. I was even confusing people during Kyle's live stream, talking about we're going to go right after that. I'm here because I actually got notification. Well, thank you, Ross. Thanks for being here. Yeah, it should be popping up in a bit. Um, like I said, I had at 11 o'clock this morning. I was like, dude, where are you? He's like, what do you mean? He goes, we said 4 o'clock, and it's like, oh yeah, you're right. I actually had to go look at the time that I had scheduled it. I don't know where 11 o'clock got stuck in my mind, but nonetheless. And like I said, it was just one of those things where uh, I know that he does a lot of things that he doesn't necessarily talk about, but he's real supportive of a lot of the hobby and a lot of the events and things like that, which is one of the things that I wanted to talk to him about. The other thing is his fascination for arts and crafts. I was joking with him the day that I was last week. I think I was on with him and Whip, where he's taking these GI Joe figurines and turning them into like fish fam personalities. So it's kind of like the live action form of Fish Room Punks. Is what I was telling him, and he goes, "Yeah, kind of, sort of." So I thought that was really interesting. It just, I've like I said, the other thing that I found out, and because Ed would never talk about this, he's pretty humble that way. But somebody was telling me that he has like this super amazing fish room in the basement, and he hardly ever talks about uh, how many aquariums and fish that he's got. But I know he's very passionate about guppies. So somebody I don't know who it was that's actually been to his fish room, was saying that he's got quite the setup in the basement, and but he hardly ever shows it. I guess because he has issues with the internet when he goes down there, and it's one of those things where he doesn't show it and he doesn't really talk about it too much. But I know that he'll take some of his fish to the events and stuff like that, and people are pretty impressed. Hey, Liz, how's it going? Haven't seen you in a long, long time. I'm glad to see that you're around. I'm going to be up in your neck of the woods at the beginning of July, uh, and I'm going to go check out a couple of stores. I guess one of the members of the club. I'm going to go check out his fish. Well, I'll probably go see a couple of fish rooms while I'm up there. We'll see how that works out. Yeah, I know you guys have been real busy, but I'm glad you made it in. And see, we had Ben come in, Ben Sharp. Thank you for joining us. Uh, oh, Warren. Yeah, that's right. I saw Warren. There he is. Wally's Fresh Aquatics. Thanks for dropping in. And so that's what's going on. I think this whole mix-up this morning has kind of created a little bit of a confusion. Nothing we can't overcome, though. So he'll be showing up pretty soon enough. And so what else? What else do I got going on? I don't know how you get on your stream. Okay, let me send him the link. Bear with me, because I gotta. All right, invite a guest. Copy. Worst case scenario, just have him come into the chat and drop the link. I'll tell him that if that doesn't work, Come to the live, and I'll draw up the link. All right. So, like I said, he'll be coming up pretty soon. So we'll see what he does. Hey, George, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for coming in. Nick, yeah, me and Nick have actually tied down a time and date. So, but it's going to be after I come back from San Antonio. So probably till like mid July, where I'm going to have Nick on. Hey, Manuel, thank you for coming in. Yeah, I'm just waiting on my guest and just kind of killing time a little bit. He should be coming up pretty soon. I was telling everybody else that I've kind of fumbled the ball on this one because I had gotten the time wrong. Thought it was a lot earlier than now, but that's not a problem. We'll get that remedied pretty soon. So, let's see what else. What else we got going on? Oh, there he is. There's the man, the myth, the legend. Hey, Ed.
Hey, oh my gosh. Have you been live for 21 minutes?
Hey, a little bit.
Oh, sorry, I thought we were supposed to start in 10 minutes.
Oh no, we're good.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry.
Well, you know, it's a good thing that you weren't here earlier because I was singing your praises, and I know how shy you are about that you would have just been embarrassed, and so I kind of saved you that part of it. But yeah, I was telling them that I got things all mixed up. I was texting you like 2 hours ago saying, "Hey, are you coming?"
Well, I I thought we were starting at 4:30 and I
Oh,
apologize. I hate being late.
that's all right.
Gosh darn it.
No, no worries. I know you're always busy doing stuff. That's what I was telling them
Oh,
that you always have a full schedule.
well, today has been pretty chill. I I helped mom into the pool today, and so she got to swim for a little bit. And I got out of the pool about probably a half hour ago, and I've just dried off, and I'm having a really relaxed day today.
Yeah, you don't get too many
I
of
had a
those, do
doctor's
you?
appointment earlier, but yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's the other thing. Yeah, I know you had a little bit of a health scare there a couple years back.
yep. I was born with a bicuspid valve, heart valve, and like your heart, normal people's heart valve has like three little flaps that open and shut like this. Mine's like a cat's eye and would just go pump like this. And it started to tear and create an aneurysm on the side. And they said it's time to get it fixed. So they went in and I had open heart surgery where they had to put a metal heart valve in. And I can hear it ticking right now as we talk. It's so
Yeah, that's
strange,
what I've
like a
heard.
little clock.
I hear people that had that procedure done that you can actually in some cases you can actually put hear it. It's audible. It's like a little like a little watch mechanism
Oh,
that goes.
you, like when a little kid will walk into the living room and I'm sitting there like at Christmas, one of my nieces and nephews' kids, they'll say, I can hear that. Or, they say, what's ticking? It's like so crazy.
Well, that's a good
Adults'
thing.
ears are just not
That's
nearly
what
as
you
good.
tell them. Worry if you don't hear it. As long as you can hear it, everything's okay.
We're still alive.
Now, those things have like an expiration date on them, don't they?
Well, the metallic or the metal ones don't. They're good for
Oh, okay.
life. And that's why they did that instead of a bovine or a pig uh one, because they have only like 8 to 10 years. And this way they're hopefully not cracking me open every decade. That would really suck.
Yeah. Now that was a
But
real traumatic type of surgery, right? Because you said they had spread you open.
yeah, it was tough. Now, like my dad had the exact same thing because it's like a birth defect. So I got it from him. And his dad probably died of it too back in the 70s, but it was before they like check, knew how to check for that type of stuff. So, um when they went in, they did him, it was like 2 days before COVID hit, and we were all at the hospital, and that was like he got to have the surgery, and he thought they were going to go through his neck. And then they said, "Oh my gosh, no, it's a lot worse." So they had to go through his chest and crack his chest, but luckily everybody was there for it. And then like the next week, nobody was allowed to go into the hospitals, so it was pretty cool that we got to do that. I got to fly in here. And then about a year later I had to do mine. And I had to do it during COVID, which stunk because I had to be pretty much by myself in the hospital.
Now, were you noticing like certain health issues, or it was just kind of like when the doctor said we have to schedule that now? Or
Well, um, I had they I donated a kidney to my brother about 14 years ago, and they discovered it after the kidney surgery that I had this. And so they've been monitoring it for years, but once the aneurysm started growing on the side, it's kind of like uh have you ever seen like a tire on a bicycle or a car and it has that bulge? And when that pops, it blows it out. And that's what was growing on the side of that heart valve. And so they said, we got to fix it, or if it blows out, you're going to die,
Mhm.
because it was swelling out. So they went in and did it. And that was good. But then, whenever you have heart surgery, they put pacemakers in you, like this type of heart surgery. Maybe not all heart surgeries, but this type they do. And they put a pacemaker in me, and it came loose, and they had to take it out and put another one in, and it came loose. So it really hurts to have pacemakers put in and out of you over and over. And then, so the third time they put a pacemaker in about the size of a 22 bullet,
Oh, okay.
and it went up through my leg and in instead of cutting into my shoulder every time, because that was really tough because they cut through your muscles and you can't really move your left arm for a couple of weeks. And oh, it was miserable. But so they fixed my heart up, and now I'm on blood thinners for the rest of my life because um they have, like, they don't want a clot to ever get it stuck on the metal and mess up, somehow. So
No.
yeah, that's so I have to take blood thinners every day, and then I test myself at home once a week. And I used to get super tan. Uh, I'm 25% Native American Indian. I've got Potawatomi, and I used to get like super dark in the summer. And now, since I'm on blood thinners, I just burn up. It's so strange. I don't know what
They
happened to
took your
me.
superpowers away.
They did. They did. I used to be able to handle the sun all day long. Oh well.
Uh, the reason I find it interesting is because from the little that I've you talked about and stuff like that, it seemed like you were very athletic in growing up, and you played a lot of really physically intensive sports. You played football and hockey and stuff like that, and that was never an issue with your heart. They didn't know about it back then, or
Well, they think that's why they discovered it earlier than my dad, because my dad really, I mean, he was drafted into Vietnam, so he got a lot of stress there. But I just because I played football my whole life, well, I played football till I was about 19. And I the big colleges that I could have went to, I don't know if I would have been good enough to play for. And the small schools that wanted me were all pretty crappy. So I didn't want to just play for a loser. So I ended up just playing club hockey for like till I was about 24. And then I started coaching hockey for high school hockey, and that was a lot of fun. But I started a photo studio at that time, and I used to wear these. Do you remember Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? He
Yeah, the
was
goggles.
he had those, yeah, those goggles. Well, I used to wear those goggles when I played hockey. And one day, this is like when I was 24, I took a slap shot. It hit me right between the eyes but the goggles were there, but it broke the goggles in half and it gave me two black eyes. And I thought, if I wasn't wearing those goggles, I could have lost an eye, you know? So I said, I'm done playing ice hockey. I'm not going to do it ever again. And then I played roller hockey probably till I was about 36 or 37. And I loved playing roller hockey. And I wish I could still play that. But
Now,
I kind of gave that up.
when did face shields become a mandatory in hockey? Because I remember growing up as a kid, and I think it was you that I was talking about it, where uh, the one thing about hockey that's always haunted my mind is the image of the hockey player. I think he was a goalie that's kind of leaning on the ice, and you see all the blood gushing on the ice. And
That was
that when I
Pagnozzi.
saw that,
I was at that game. I was at that. It was a Blues game. And the defense, because you sharpen your blades for every game to be
hmm,
faster.
yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that
Oh,
I know they were narrow skates, but I had no idea that they were like razor sharp.
but it's like an ice hockey skate. It's thick, but it has an indentation. It's like this, and you sharpen the sides. So it's actually kind of like two blades. So it's not like one sharp
Mm.
blade, but two little ones with a curve. Well, his own defenseman dove to stop the puck, or maybe he got knocked down. I don't know. But the goalie dove and landed on his skate right across his neck. And every time it pulsed, it squirt. And oh my gosh, I thought he was gonna die. I was at that Blues game, and I only went to like 5 or 6 Blues games a year, and I just happened to make that one. But it
Well,
may have happened more than once too, but it was pretty bad. So goalies started wearing these plastic things that would hang underneath their masks, and that's pretty much stopped that.
now, was that
But
a common type of injury where people would get cut with skates, or that was just a totally freak accident in that sport?
it probably happens like once every 5 or 6 years where somebody gets cut. Normally, it's not the jugular. It's normally like they fall down and accidentally step on their, and it's normally always your own teammate. It's never malicious, but somehow you step on your buddy's wrist because that's a really unprotected spot, or the back of the calves. But really, hockey players wear a lot of pads.
Yeah,
There's
but
there's no better way to learn how to ice skate or roller skate than to put on a pair of hockey pants, because the butt pad is about this thick on your tailbone, and you can fall and it'll never hurt you all day
okay.
long. And like I knew how to roller skate and I knew how to ice skate, but I didn't know how to rollerblade when rollerblading was invented. And I just put on my ice hockey pants and went out there, and after falling down about 6 or 7 hours. I don't know. I was pro at it. Yeah, and I mean, I back then I was rollerblading all the time without protection and just not hockey, but just not worrying about my tailbone.
They're asking if you can still skate.
You know, I I still have my skates. I have both on my ice hockey and my roller, but I hurt my spine. I had a when I donated my kidney to my brother, I wasn't allowed to take painkillers anymore. And so uh I just had to live with pain. And my doctor, I told her, man, my back is just really hurting bad. And she had me get a CAT scan. She said, it's just arthritis in your back. You just have to live with it. So I lived with it. And it turned out it was a herniated uh disc that completely collapsed and damaged my spine after 3 years of that. But like I should have known something was up. Always get a second opinion. That's what I tell everybody now. Because like my last year in softball, I didn't hit a single home run in softball. And I thought I was swinging as hard as I could every time. And I could make contact, but I couldn't elevate at all my last year of softball. And it had to have been my back just going out on me. And one day I was heading to work. I worked third shift, and so I would go by the gas station. I would always buy a thing of juice and a thing of Mean Bean Monster, or something with a lot of caffeine. And I would drink those on the way. But I went down to reach for that juice. I felt a pop in my back, and that's when the discs completely collapsed into each other and pinched my spine, and I felt nothing below the waist. Like I couldn't pee, I couldn't pinch my skin and feel anything. I couldn't, but I was still walking. And I went
Oh
into
wow.
work and I told my boss, because he used to be an EMT. He was a great guy. Well, he's still a great guy. He still works there. But I told him, John, I tried to pee and I wasn't able to pee, and I don't have any feeling below my waist. And he told me to go straight to the hospital, and that's what I did. And I didn't even realize that I was going to have surgery or anything. They kept me in like in the emergency room for like 15 hours or 12 hours. And then they put me on an ambulance and took me into the city to the really good hospital that did my kidney surgery, and they did the spine surgery on me, and they had to cut a big chunk of my spine out that was pinching or a big chunk of my disc that was pinching my spine. And at the whole time, my mom was having a hip replacement here in Chattanooga at the exact same time. So I was all by myself for that whole thing, and that was not fun at all. So yeah, and
So what did
I'll
they
say
end
one
up
more.
doing?
Oh, go
Did
ahead.
they fuse the vertebrae, or did they actually put an insert?
They cut them up. They actually cut one in half,
Oh,
and
okay.
I suppose they had to fuse it together. But
Hmm.
my surgeon was a real old guy, and then there's two younger guys with him, and they said that was the biggest bone I've ever had to amputate. and
Oh
and
wow.
the old surgeon said it's kind of like fishing. When you catch a really big fish, you want to tell everybody about it. And so I have like really thick, like my wrist is real. All my bones are really thick or just big. So yeah, it's probably why I haven't had a lot of broken bones really. So, but yeah, that was so. They told me I'm not allowed to twist anymore at my waist, or I'll be in a
Uh,
wheelchair. And they said if you go to work and work there in a year, you'll be in a wheelchair for life. So I had to leave. I worked in the auto industry, and I used to check car seats to make sure the airbags would deploy correctly for the Colorados, the GM Colorados. And so, like, I was one of 6 people that checked front car seats. I was Inspector 27. If you ever
so
rip your
were you sitting in there and deploying the bags and letting them hit you, or what were you doing?
no, well, and you see, this was part of the downfall of my back. Is the seats weren't put together yet, so it was just the
Hmm.
back part of the seat. But it would come on a line, and I'd pick it up like this and turn it and check to make sure that the because like if they insert the components wrong, it won't deploy, or
Uh,
if something got sewn over it, I would have to mark and say, we got to throw this one away, and I would have to, anything that would make it so the airbag would not deploy. Sometimes the airbags would be put in upside down. I don't know how somebody puts an airbag in upside down, but I mean, they must have been like talking on the phone or something. But I would take it off the line here, inspect it on my table, and then I put it on this line over here to go this way, the opposite direction. And twisting like that for 25 years did my back in. That, and I played lots of hockey. I took lots of slap shots. That was my thing, was a heavy hit. And I bowled every Tuesday and every Friday. I played softball every Thursday night. I was always going, and I had to give it all up, and it really is a bummer.
So this is me, not because there's no hockey where I'm at. I mean, no, that's not true because Phoenix has a hockey team, but not until recently.
Actually, it
it's
doesn't.
Not something that. It left. The Coyotes left.
It went to Utah this year. Sorry.
Yeah, but
the Coyotes left.
How hard are those pucks? Because you can see them do some damage. And how fast do you guys get to, make them go? Are they going in excess of 100 miles an hour, or is it just the way they're the weight and the mass of those things that do all that damage?
The trick is, and I used to just practice nonstop. So that was my thing, was to try to hit it hard. And you got to hit it. You actually hit into the ice underneath the puck, and you lift, and you'll get the best speed and hit on it. Slap shot. My best shot was actually, I was timed at Six Flags. Six Flags had like a big thing for hockey, and we were all taking shots, and I hit the thing going, I think it was 96 was my hardest hit. But most guys are probably shooting the puck at about 70 to 80.
And how about the pros? Is that the speed that they're doing, or they're a little bit harder?
Well, that's about the speed they're doing. They have a few guys that are going over 100. And
wow.
It's normally always big defensemen that are the big shots. And you see, I was a defenseman too. You work on your shot if you're a defenseman, because you aren't getting close to the net. So if you want a goal, you got to shoot from far away, and you want it to hit hard and high. So you try to lift it. And if you lift the puck, it goes a lot faster too.
The thing that I always found fascinating in hockey, that's why you got to be tough to play hockey, because unlike other sports where you'll bicker and talk trash and get all hot-headed, in hockey, you throw your gloves down and you're mixing it up. I mean, there is no hiding behind the team. I mean,
yeah.
is how integral is that part of is that like part of the game, or is it something where it's an unspoken rule and they'll let them work it out and then put them in their penalty box, or what's the deal with that?
I spent a lot of time in the penalty box. I'm a really nice guy here, but you see, I'm born in June and I am a Gemini. When I'm on the field, I'm kind of a mean guy. And like one time we were playing this other team, and this is when I was in college, and it was just a club team. So it's like there's lots of clubs in the same city that play each other. Well, and they were all there. I saw everybody was jumping on top of each other, and this is just rollerblades, but I skated up and I looked, and it's like everybody just laying on top of each other. I'm not just gonna jump on top. And then I saw one guy going bam, 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 and I dropped my gloves. I grabbed him by his face and skated backwards. And I remember my fingers being up his nose. And I skated with him. I pulled him behind the net, and his friend was skating next to me saying, he was punching our own guy. He was punching our own guy. And I let him go. And then the very next day, I was a TA in the art department. That kid walks in to pick up his sister, because his sister was in my class, to take her home. And he went, he had like, and he apologized, and I felt bad, but because he had like red marks on his face where I was squeezing as hard as I could. And he apologized, and he said that he was trying to hit the guy who started the whole thing, because he was always causing problems. And for the most part, we just want to have fun. You don't want to fight.
Especially at that level.
And
at that level, it's just kind of like nobody's making any money.
Yeah. Oh no. The goal is to score as many goals as you can and have fun. And
Yeah.
but you're still college kids, so uh but yeah, that was probably one of my meanest things I did. I mean,
Now you playing both sports because I've heard this from people that played hockey. They say that the contact hits in hockey are way harder than on the football field because both of you will have momentum. Is that something that's true? Because you played both sports. That's why I'm asking you.
okay. Well, yes and no. And in uh up in up until high school league hockey and stuff, they really give a lot of penalties out when you really slobber knocker each other. So you don't have huge hits. But once you get out of high school and got into college, we really tried to hit each other as hard as you could. And this was ice hockey. Roller
Yeah.
hockey is generally not as much checking at all, but ice hockey is a lot of checking. And I can remember like classes that I had in high school, but then in college, I think I had so many concussions. I don't remember had my college classes, but it was normally because I was trying to skate to hit somebody and I missed them and I hit my head against the glass wall. I mean, I think I gave myself all the concussions. Really, because when I would miss hitting a body, because it's a lot easier to hit a soft body filled with pads than a hard glass wall. So, yeah, I
How
think I gave
fast can you guys
myself at
get
least,
going?
yeah, oh, yeah. And
How fast can you get
it-
going on skates?
how
What
fast?
kind of speed? Yeah, how fast can you get moving on those things?
I have no idea.
Oh,
I honestly have no idea. I know one time I was rollerblading so fast, I went to make my hockey stop, which is like when you have your skates, they're lined like this, and then you turn them sideways and it sticks. I did that in my rollerblades, but I was going so fast, I just flipped over completely, and I'm pretty sure that I rolled over on my head. Like I I stopped
a
like this
somersault.
and it went completely like this. I somersault, but I was holding my stick, so I'm sure my head was what was on the ground. So yeah, fun. Oh my gosh, I love playing hockey so much. I
So
wish I could still
are your
play.
did you manage to leave hockey without losing your teeth?
I this my canine on this side has been chipped off, so it's just straight, and then I have one of my front teeth that's been chipped halfway off, and it's been capped like 3 times. Oh, the first time it happened though, I also bit through my lip. So that because I got hit with a stick and it broke the
Uh,
tooth and then went through my lip. And I went to a normal hockey game like the next day. And I, at the time, my girlfriend was eating those peanuts, like salted peanuts. And I took one and I got a piece of peanut stuck in the hole in my skin, in my lip. And with that salt, it hurt so bad. I like started like running around, and normally I would never buy a beer at a professional hockey game because they're like $10, I bought like 2 beers just to try to wash it out. Oh, it was horrible. That was so painful. But yeah, so one of my little teeth, but I used to wear like a mouth implant, like the what quarterbacks wear that snap
oh,
into
okay.
your. I had an awesome dentist when I was in high school that would make them for me every year for football, and I would wear them in hockey too, which is really good because you can get a concussion when you land on your uh, chin and your teeth smack together. But with that rubber in between, I loved having that mouthpiece. But that one time I got the stick hit in my mouth and knocked the mouthpiece right out of my mouth. And then the time
Yeah.
I broke this one, I took a hockey puck to the side of my mouth, and that was in practice. So I wasn't wearing a mouthpiece in practice, thinking, you're not going to get hurt in practice.
Well, just taking the damn puck, when somebody hits it and getting in between you and where it's going, that looks like it just gotta hurt. I mean, it can't be fun to
Yeah.
get hit with the puck.
Well, okay, this might be a little graphic, but this is the worst injury I ever had in hockey. I was practicing, this was when we were in college, and somebody was taking a shot, and I went down because I'm the defenseman to try to get it to hit me in the chest somewhere, and I've got shoulder pads on, but
Okay.
it hit the ice right in front of me and came up, and somehow, like, I'm wearing my cup, but for some reason, like, my cup is like was when I squatted down for it to hit me in the chest, my cup like came up. And so the puck bounced up and hit me. What's a good term for, well, I'll just say the balls. Hit me in the balls. And it hurt so bad. I like I had to be pulled off the ice, and then the bathrooms were locked. So I went into a shed and I tried to pee in a 5-gallon bucket for like 20 minutes. Couldn't do it. And I hurt so bad. So um I like looked it up online, and a crushed testicle or a bruised testicle is what it was. And a crushed testicle they have to amputate. And a bruised one, it eventually just stops hurting. And I walked around school for like 2 weeks like this, saying it's just a bruise, it's just a bruise. And then one day it just stopped hurting
Wow,
and fell
man.
off on its own. No, it didn't.
You're joking, right?
Teasing. I'm just teasing. But no, it was so weird because it was like severe pain, and then all the pain was just gone. It was just normal again. Sorry, I didn't mean to go graphic on you, but that was a really bad hockey injury.
Yeah. I mean, playing baseball, you would get, similar injuries like that, but it was never fun. And even with the cup, it's just anytime anything hits you in that area, it's never fun.
Mm.
It seemed you see, we used to have this stupid thing that we would do. We'd walk around and the handle of the bat, you'd come up and you go cup check, and you flick it and hit towards the groin area. And if you weren't wearing a cup, guess what? You just got a handle of the bat right in in the in the testicles, and that was never fun. But stupid shit you did like that.
That's a sport I wish I would have played, was baseball. I've never played baseball in my life. I've never had a person throw a hard baseball at me to hit it.
Yeah,
I've
it's
I
fun. I
played
mean,
lots of
it's
softball. But never got to play baseball. Isn't that crazy?
it's a lot harder than it looks.
Oh yeah. Well, my mom was gonna teach me how to play baseball because she was like a really good athlete. She played softball in college and stuff, and she was tossing me the ball. And this is like when I was in second or third grade. And she was tossing me the ball, and she said, "Edward, this is how it's really gonna be." And she threw a fastball, put it right between my eyes, and broke my nose. And I said, "I'm not playing baseball. It's too dangerous."
You consider that dangerous, but yet being in the hockey rink, that was not.
Well, little kids really never get hurt playing hockey because they have so many pads and they go so slow. They just kind of bounce off each other and stuff. And as you go up, it just keeps getting worse as you grow up. And it wa I I got an injury coaching hockey. It was roller hockey, and I was on the floor, and the floors are made of rubber. So
Mm,
the wheels hold better. And I blew a whistle and they all came in, and one kid came to my side and didn't know how to stop and took
mm,
me out and tore my cartilage in my right knee. And I had to have surgery to have it removed. And I didn't play hockey for like 4 or 5 months. And the first game I came back, I was skating up the boards. I took a slap shot. It bounced off the goalie, but one of my favorite moves to do is to dive to hit the rebound and hit it back, back at the goalie quick. Well, I landed all my weight on that knee, that hurt worse than the surgery. And I called the doctor the next day thinking I may have broken it all. And he says, no, it's just a bone bruise. And bone bruises take about a year to heal. It's like, oh, that was painful too. I couldn't even, I couldn't, I had to look down to see if my leg was still attached. I was like, the whole thing went numb. My leg was just like this. Oh, that was rough.
Now, the thing that I'm thinking, because that's obviously would take up a lot of your time. Were you still were at that time? Were you keeping aquariums, or that came on later on after you slowed down a little bit?
Well, my dad was huge in aquariums in the 70s when I was a little kid.
Oh,
He raised Cory cats and guppies, and they said fancy guppies, back then. And then he'd sell them all around the Kansas City area. So Kansas and Missouri side. We'd go to all the fish stores and sell them to them. And when my brother came around, my mom worked on the DA of a mob boss that stressed her out real bad. So after they put him away to jail, she retired and she just said she wanted to be a foster mother and take care of kids for a little while, not leave the house because she was like always afraid her house was going to get, or her car was going to get blown up and stuff. Well, um, and she said, no babies, just kids. And the first kid they brought us was my brother. He was 2 weeks old. And they said that he was going to die in 2 weeks because of his kidneys being so bad. And my mom ended up staying with him in the hospital for like 2 years before we could adopt him. And so my dad had to really take on the responsibility of my sister and I. And so he sold all of the fish except for like one or two tanks. And then my sister had a tank and I had a tank because we love fish. And so I pretty much had a tank my whole life. At every given moment, I've had at least one tank. During my hockey years, I generally kept like 125 gallon and maybe a 20 during those years.
so when did you start getting multiple tanks? Because I don't know if it's true. Somebody was telling me that what we see behind you is not all the aquariums that you have. That you actually have a
Oh
basement
no.
full of aquariums.
Yeah. And if you go back to my old videos, I used to do all my live streams in my fish room, but I've put too many fish tanks in there and now I get no signal. I can't even use my cell phone signal in there. And Matt from Liquid Zoo, he gave me a thing that I'm supposed to hook up somehow and make it work, but I don't know how to do it. I can't figure it out and I feel terrible. I've got 100 foot of this Ethernet I bought that'll run from the modem that's upstairs all the way to my fish room. And hopefully that'll happen eventually. Maybe I'll have to wait
Yeah,
till
that's
Whip's here because I don't do ladders good because I can't feel
okay.
when I'm on a run. So I fall off ladders a lot now. And so that's going to be a lot of ladders through my ceiling. But like Whip said, when he moves here, maybe he'll help me do it and pull it through.
Oh,
But yeah,
yeah,
I
no,
have a lot of fish tanks. I think I'm close to about 100 tanks. So yeah, I've got a bunch.
yeah, because I was telling them earlier when we were waiting for you that I remember you've been one of the people that I've been watching for the longest time because I was telling them that I remember I think it was Thursday nights where there
Mhm.
was like a little schedule. It would be like aquarium co-op would go early in the afternoon and then it would swing to KG Tropicals if I remember correctly. And then from KG Tropicals it went to you guys, you and James, when you guys were doing your guys' live stream.
Actually, it went to Rack. At that time, it
Okay.
was River Life, and then it went to Multi Tank Addiction, and then it went to
Oh,
James, and we did that show for a while. And once we got to him to 1,000, then I started a show after him, and so we were going at about two to. My show was from 2 to 3 in the morning on Thursday nights when I first started. And that was like 6 years ago. That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's how long I remember seeing you is, and I've known about you ever since. And but yeah, I remember like clearly, and it was Thursday nights, I think, where it was kind of like the big fish event because there was a whole bunch of things that were going one right after another. And and then the next time that I started knowing more about you was and I never knew until after the fact your involvement with the Aquashella and
Nope.
how integral of a part you were at that. And that's what I was kind of talking about where I was waiting, waiting for you was um, I remember that event used to be so intriguing to me because of the way the group behind scenes that was putting together, and you were part of a board. If I don't know how much of this you can talk either. So if it's
Oh, I
something
can
you
say
can't talk about,
I- no. Well, I've been fired when I was let go, kind of, and all that team lost their shares of Aquashella to George. So I think I can pretty much say anything now. 'Cause who's
oh,
gonna
so
stop me?
you were actually financially attached to it. You actually had bought in
Well,
shares to the.
no. I was just they had the people that had there were two people that owned it. And
Mhm.
one was George and one was this guy named Sean. And they owned it 50-50. And when they first started it like 10 years ago, it was only in Chicago. And George's dad owned the hall that they had the event in. And Sean worked for Fritz. And he's a super go-getter. I mean, he is an amazing guy when it comes to push and to run things. Well, he turned this event that they they had a hall, but it was such a small event. There was a craft fair on the other side at the first years, like, and it just kept growing. And Sean did an amazing job building it up, and there was a lot of friction between George and Sean because George really didn't do anything. He would just come in from the Bahamas and set up his booth, and that was it. I mean, he didn't even like do interviews or anything. So
So at what point did you come in and start working with them? How many years in?
I came in during the COVID years.
Okay.
Um, and that was kind of the big boom for the fish hobby at that time because people didn't have things to they had to do things at home. And I mean, everything on YouTube with fish related was probably threefold. I mean, we just James and I would get 300 people at 2 in the morning watching our show. It was just so much more. But I mean, people didn't have to work the next day, so it made it
Yeah.
easier too. But we Aquashella. Well, James and I went to Aquashella down in Florida, and they liked me, and they offered me a job to join them with their planning team.
Okay. Remind me when this was because I remember you guys did a live stream where you guys were in a hotel room and you guys were having beer, and I said, "These guys are the guys that I want to hang out with." Was that for
That,
an Aquashella or what was that for?
that was for the big fish deal. That's where I won
Uh,
this thing. the this I was probably the only aquascaper to win an aquascape that year because I was the only aquascape of the year. Everything else was canceled that year. But we showed up and we were supposed to be just like, normal, smaller YouTube guys. And John, KG Tropicals, my buddy Sean Peck, um, oh gosh, King and Queen of Cichlids, Scott was supposed to be
yeah.
there, and um, oh, the amazing lady Rachel O'Leary. She was supposed. Did I say that right? Rachel. I've met her
Yeah,
several
Rachel
times. I
O'Leary.
can't believe I. Oh, okay. Was she was supposed to be there? Well, all those big guys didn't show up. So
Oh.
James and I showed up. Susie Q showed up. Um, Haley showed up. Fish Tank Barn came. Haley from Oddball Aquatics, and they asked us, they said, well, all those YouTubers are supposed to run the show for us and do all the announcing and everything. So you guys are just going to be responsible to do it. It's like the most fun we ever had. And they had set up this giant room for the YouTubers to drink and have a party and stuff. And they were like, could you guys please go up there? And it was just James and me, you know? And so we were like, okay. It was just the two of us in their whole giant place. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I remember, and you guys were live streaming it, and that's I don't know if you guys were like the first people to do this, but I remember I always associate you guys with doing stuff that's a little bit different. And the one that I remember the most is when you guys were driving to an event that you guys would actually live stream in the car as you guys were going to the event and having all these conversations. I always found that really interesting to the point where I've taken that and I've done it a few times myself. And that's where it really comes from. Is I remember watching you and James, and you would have somebody else in the vehicle that I can remember who it was, and you guys were all just having a. It always seems like you guys were always having a good time, no matter where you went. And so that one always stood out in my mind as something that I thought was very very interesting because I hadn't seen anybody do that, where they'd be going to an event and just talking about the event and what they were going to do and all this stuff.
Yeah. James was a great teammate. Um, I hope he comes back someday because we had so much fun together. And like one of the streams that everybody really liked is we went somewhere and we were in the middle of the country because we were going to spend the night there and then drive the rest of the way to whatever we were going to. And we were just trying to find a place to eat. And people enjoyed having us walking around the strip mall looking for a place to eat. And we found a Little Caesars, and the Little Caesars, I got wings and they were raw. I remember
Oh.
eating them when I got back to the room and I got so sick. I ate one and went, oh, it's
Now,
terrible.
weren't you guys going to somebody's funeral for that event? I think that's what it was.
That may have been Nathan's funeral. Nathan was do you remember Sand Creek Aquatics? He
No.
I used to do co-host with a lot of people. Anybody that wanted help, I was willing to help them out. And so Nathan was one of the guys who asked me to help him out, so I would go and hang out with Nathan, and he was a lot of fun. And we became friends because he ended up dying from kidney disease, and he had a transplant that didn't work out, and I had given a transplant that did work out. So, we had a little common knowledge between each other, and that was a bummer, that
Yeah,
when he
I think
passed
it was
away.
during that event because I remember watching that too. I used to watch you guys all the time. I just used to love the dynamic that the two of you guys had, and anytime you guys went live, I would be watching, especially because of the weird schedules that I would always work. Sometimes it just allowed for me to be able to, while I was working, being able to watch, and that's why I just kind of remember a lot of that stuff. You and his channel really standing out the most because it's one of the ones that you guys would go live at, just out of the blues all of a sudden, depending on what you were doing. The other one that I thought was really cool is, again, obviously those one in the hotel room and just kind of talking about events of the day and just hanging out. It's funny how much that's interesting just to see a group of friends hanging out and interacting and not necessarily talking about fish, but just hanging out, just regular casual conversation and the
Yep.
riffing between the two of you guys and stuff like that. I used to look at that and go, man, that sounds like fun.
Oh,
So
it's so fun. It. I see one of my buddies here. I don't. Do you mind if I
yes,
mention just
yes, go
something
ahead.
that somebody said?
Yes,
Okay.
anything.
One person asked. I don't know who it was now. Oh, One More Fish. I think said, "Do I still go to Aquashellas?" I don't go to Aquashells anymore. Uh, Maybe things will change. Um, they called me up last year to try to bring me back, and then the people that wanted to bring me back ended up losing Aquashella in a court case. So it went to George, and I don't know if George even knows who I am. I know that sounds weird. I mean, I said hi to him every
Well,
week, but or not every week, but at every convention. But I think George has hired professionals to run his show for him, and I'm I don't feel like I'm gonna go and search them out. If they want me, they can come to me. Otherwise, I'm happy being how I am. And then I see Skipper's here. Skipper's one of my super cool buddy partners now. I've been blessed to be able to hang out with some great guys. I've had, I lost James for now. Maybe he'll come back. I don't know. I've lost Rico. Rico, I love Rico to death. And I mean, both of these guys are still alive. And hopefully Rico comes back someday. But I get to hang out with Skipper and Whip also. And I mean, I've been blessed to be able to have some cool buddies to hang out with on the show.
yeah, that's one of the biggest things that I've enjoyed the most about what I've been doing is getting that opportunity to interact with all of you guys. And I've gone from being somebody who used to watch in the chats and interact there to come full circle to the point where now I can have these conversations, and that to me has been the most rewarding thing of doing all this stuff is being able to get into and I guess not that sounds so bad to say the inner circle, but just being able to interact with some of you guys and even with people in the chat, just getting to meet. I've always praised the fact that I don't think I don't. There's very few people that I've come across that just don't jive with me. But for the most part, that's not been the case. Everybody seems to be very nice and pleasant, and you know, I've enjoyed that tremendously, and that's why I continue to do what I do because I that's one of the parts that I really love the most. Is just the interactions that you get to have. Uh, you know, I've always used to see when you guys would have like hangouts where you guys would get like two or three people together, and I always thought that was so cool. I was like, oh man, I wish I could hang out and be part of that group. And now I've been fortunate enough where that does happen, and those to me are some of my favorite live streams where you're just kind of joking around and having a good time and talking like the other last week when I came up with you and Whip. I just love that. That's because in this hobby it tends to be really like a loner hobby unless your family is involved in it. uh I think it was Nick that's in here, the Nick that's in here, he was made a comment too where if it wasn't for this community he wouldn't be interacting and talking about fish and being able to share that because I'm kind of like in my family, I'm the only one. There's nobody else in my family. Nobody's ever kept aquariums. I've been the only one, really. My middle brother kept some for his kids, but once the kids lost interest, the tank went away, and it was just one tank. And my youngest brother, um, what does it say? Bare bottom. Why am I not a mod? Oh, because you suck, Brandon. That's why. Let me take care of Brandon. I tend to make everybody a moderator in my chat so that they can just go check out anybody that they find interesting. And he's complaining that he doesn't have a rich. Maybe I
Oh, I
shouldn't give him
love it.
rich.
I on your show when you had Lance last week. I love your show a lot. And
Oh, thank you.
It's tricky because you got to figure out when you're on.
Yeah, that's the only downside is, and that's really because of my work schedule. I I, I know for a fact that if I had a more consistent time and date, uh, I would have a uh, more people watching just because a lot of people tell me how much they enjoy it. But
Yeah, great show.
the downside is it would limit me. So what makes it interesting is not having a set time gives you this flexibility. Like for you, this worked out perfect for you because you're not having to do something. So knowing that now, I don't think I would change it. I think I would still continue to do it. What I try to do is advertise it at least 3 days in advance for those that want to watch it. They can kind of, oh yeah, that's day it's going to happen. And so I've tried to do that. I try to get I like to have at least 3 days lead time to be able to, put it out there, schedule it so that it's out there and people can find out. But I've been known to go the same day. I think like with Dawn, it was kind of like from one day to another. With Prodigal Aquarius, sometimes you just when the iron's hot, you got to strike. It's just kind of like, and again, that's the benefit of not having a date and time, because I can kind of work around that. And so, and I've been able to get access to some people that if it wasn't for the fact that I can kind of go either really early or really late, that I wouldn't have been able to have access to them. Like Gil's Fish Room. I was able to go late for me, but it was like in the afternoon for him. And even that one, because it was like 11 o'clock Pacific time. So it was 2 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. And a bunch of you guys showed up. It's like, okay, let's do this. And so, yeah, I've been very fortunate that I've gotten a lot of support. I mean, that's one thing that I've been truly blessed is the fact that people continue to support me. Even after, when it could be very polarizing live stream sometimes, people still come back. So, I just thanks. I guess I know there should be better ways to express it, but that's all I could really say is thank you.
I found an action figure that's going to be you.
Oh yeah, we'll get into that. Oh, okay, cool. The cigar.
Yep, I really wanted a cigar.
Now we got to shave his head though.
Yeah,
he's got too much hair to be me.
Maybe it was you 5 years ago.
Yeah, I don't think I ever had that much hair.
I wish I had that much hair.
Yeah.
I just saw that guy and was like, oh, I'm going to make him perfect. And then do you know who Jess from Metalhead is? Oh, Josh from Metalheads.
Yeah.
I made him yesterday. I gave him blue jeans and then a metal head.
Cool.
But I'm going to do an anarchy or something on his chest. So that way.
How did it go that trip to Georgia? Were you able to find what you were looking for, or was it a bust?
I found 27 Fish Fan People's action figures. So
nice.
I still have 7 more that are on my list that I want to do. And like, I just saw Mike, New Local Austin. I've got a totally cool idea for him, and I'm going to use one of my pre-existing action figures that I already have, but I hope I can make it look so cool. So he's on the 7 that need to still be filled. But all those other guys still need to be painted.
I got somebody from Mexicali also coming in here.
Oh, that's awesome. I thought
we won. Bandit Garcia. He's I guess he knows Mexicali, the city where I took the name from.
Nice.
Cool. I was going to ask you. So, have you always been modeling? Because that's pretty much what you're doing. It's just except these are what do you call it? Articulated models, but I mean that articulate.
Yeah, I used to make the miniatures for my brother because he was super sickly with his kidney before he got my kidney. He was super sickly and he couldn't even, like, his hands shook real bad and he couldn't paint or glue anything. So I used to make all of his little armies for him, and he would play in these tournaments called Warhammer. And it's called a tabletop game where you have it's like chess, but every piece is different. And I'd try to make his guys look as cool as possible. And I just had a blast making them for him. And so that's how I kind of got into it. And now my brother is healthy and he can paint his own stuff and make it. So that's cool. But now I've shifted. Let's see. I'll grab one that I've done for myself right here. This is I don't do mini miniatures anymore. Mainly because I was in a club in St. Louis that played, and now I'm not in the club. But like I painted this polar bear and this guy like an orc rider on top. But I think I did a pretty
Now,
good job with that guy. I had a lot of fun.
Did you modify him to put him on that bear, or did he already come with the bear?
He came with it. You have to. He's not glued to the bear yet. I have to glue him on. And like the bear probably came in 8 pieces, the arms and legs. You get to arrange them however you want. And then this guy, like his legs were separate pieces, his arms and his head were all separate. So they give you a bunch of different pieces and you get to put them together however you want. So that way, when you play the tabletop games, everybody's models look different.
Now, are those the leaded? Are those the leaded figurines? Because I remember growing up that they used to have these little lead ones that you would have to paint.
Yeah, and then they changed them to pewter, and then from pewter now they make them into plastic. And like this one weighs nothing because it's made of a resin plastic, like from a 3D printer, but it wasn't a 3D printer. And this one is super heavy because it's made of that metal. And there's no real good way for me to show you. I don't know how to demonstrate it heavy, but
well, the reason I remember the ones that were made out of lead, because I remember it must have been like in 5th or 4th grade. I remember we had Mr. Welcome. He was our teacher, and we were talking about the what was it, the Independence War, and muskets, because he had a black powder musket. And I remember that one day he brought in a smelting machine to make the rounds. And I remember he asked us to try to bring in lead, any kind of lead, and one of the kids had brought in the little figurines from his dad's board game. And the teacher was like, "No, you don't want to put those in there," so he didn't use them. And come to find out that Dad was not very happy his son had taken them to school, because I guess they were kind of hard to come by or something. But I remember that's how I knew that those things were made out of lead, because it was some board game. I don't know what it was, but he had snuck into his dad's office and taken them.
Yeah, and it takes a long time to paint them, and you put a lot of energy into it. You know, it's worth more to whoever makes it than anyone else, probably. But yep, I totally can see that. That's terrible.
Well, and then I'm going to switch gears and go back to your participation in that committee. One of the things that I was telling them that I remember when I don't know how far along the event had been coming on, but I remember there was a point, and this is before the pandemic, because I had just started coming into watching this, where people started posting videos of the event. And I remember you being really involved with doing a lot of events and coordinating a lot of the things, like it was almost like you had a schedule of things, activities that were happening, and they were all geared to the content creators. And it was, back then it was big, small, it didn't matter. Everybody was coming together and doing it. And to me, that was the appeal of the event. I could care less as to what was going on in the event. My whole thing was, this is an event that I'm going to be able to attend, where all the people that I've been watching throughout the years and have an opportunity to interact with them and say hi and this and that. And that was what, and it seemed like I wasn't the only one, because that was like the talk of the town. And I don't know what year, which one it was, that all of a sudden you started I guess you guys as content creators just started inundating YouTube, because it was out of the blues. All of a sudden, everybody was putting all this stuff, and it really made it an attractive event. And and I remember looking at that, I was like, man, I really want to go out to this. And that happened for about 3 years, and then it just fell off a cliff. and
Yeah.
it ended.
Aquashella was originally made for YouTubers to meet, the people watching us. That was what it was. It was supposed to be an interactional type thing. And it was really great. They spent a lot of money on the YouTubers. They really did. And they would we had a committee, and we had John from KG Tropicals, we had Jason from uh uh Prime Time. He goes on right before me now. And then me, Carrie, she was like our sergeant. She was like our small boss. And then our big boss was Rob from Flips Aquatic.
Yeah.
And they never we would come up with all sorts of we would meet every Tuesday and hang out for like 2 hours planning every Tuesday of the year, the group of us. And Aquashella never told us no to anything. We would try to be responsible on what we asked for, but they always said yes. It was amazing, and they let us have giant dinners with everybody. We didn't care if you had 50 subs or 55,000 or 100,000 or a million. We treated everybody the same, and it was just so much fun. It was in like every Friday night before the show would actually start, we would have a pizza night where we'd all get together and hang out and try to come up with different ideas for your show, or just have different meetups and things like that beforehand. And then Saturday, Aquashella, it would always surprise us because they would always take us to a really fancy type restaurant and treat everybody. And we could bring like anybody we want. It was just great. It was really cool. And everything was going great, and they switched general managers. And the guy that they promoted as the general manager, his name was Adam. He was in charge of vending. So he was always the guy who got all the vendors and got their they would have a special dinner for them and stuff like that too. But he was I think he always felt like we were just a huge waste of money, the YouTube, and we were a huge asset for advertising, I think, and promoting and pushing. But he like I just want to donate my check back to Aquashella because they gave so much to us. You know, I figure, just give it back. And you guys can buy more cameras or buy more food or whatever, for the people. And it was just always really cool. But the last time to Dallas, Adam didn't tell us that he wanted to get rid of us. And like I got my room, and you still have to always put your credit card in case there's damages to your room. Well, I ended up getting a bill for $1,200 on my credit card saying that I had to pay for my room. And that was always kind of like the thing is they paid for my room and my gas. That was all I ever asked for. And I let Sean know, and he said, "Oh, I'll have Adam fix it." And Adam said he fixed it, but he didn't. And it was like, well, that's my last trip, and I wasn't gonna keep being taken advantage, or yeah, I think I was taken
Yeah.
advantage of because when I would go there, I
Yeah.
would work all day. I wasn't like going around having a lot of fun and stuff. I was nonstop.
But
So
here's
it's
the
just a
thing though,
shame.
even the people that were there, the reason we found out about it is because they weren't just sitting idle. They were going around filming it, live streaming, doing all these things. Like you said, it was just generating so much promotion that you knew Aquashella was happening because you couldn't help but see Aquashella on YouTube. That was just for those 3 days. That's all it was. Aquashella, and it was, even though it was the same event, everybody has a different take on it. Everybody had a different perspective from it. And again, the one thing that was the most appealing about the entire thing, and this is just for me, but I don't think I'm the only one that's in this boat, was the fact that you would see the interaction between all of you guys, the opportunity to do these live collaborations, I love what you were doing where you were setting up the live streams, and every hour it was an hour opening, and you would just grab people that might have not even known each other, threw them up there. They were part of a panel. Those were some of the most fun live streams that I remember watching because you never knew what you were going to get, and you had all these different personalities mashing up, and people coming out of their shell and really having a good time. And I know that to me was what was in really appealing was the fact that I was seeing other people having a good time. And so that was that and I remember seeing the switch when all of a sudden it went from being like a content creator driven event to all of a sudden it was kind of like a corporate event, and it was like night and day. It wasn't like a gradual change. It was like abrupt. And then it just kind of ever since then it's been in this constant decline. Every time I talk to people that go there, yeah, last year was better or this year was this, and every time you see less things that are going on. I know for I think a couple of years they were trying to totally control the content that they were going to put out because they even had a specific site that you had to use and all this stuff, and all of that collapsed. It didn't work.
Yeah.
They were trying to control too much of it, and you started hearing a lot of the negative feedback from people that were there because the reason they were going there is they were remembering what it was like the previous year where you had access to all the YouTubers. Now all of a sudden they're only with corporate sponsored booths and you really can't interact with them anymore. And they weren't walking around, they weren't intermingling. Some of the best things is where you would have these people come together at one point and you saw the reactions. And that to me was what really seemed like a fun event. And the only thing that I can kind of closely equate that to now, from what I hear, the description is the Clash. Like they really screwed that up. They got everybody out of there, and then they all kind of seem to bounce back to the Clash, and that's what the Clash is now. I see the Clash, what you guys do now at the Clash, and it reminds me so much of what Aquashella used to be. Except the only problem is you guys are way too far from me.
Yeah.
But one of these days, I'm gonna have to make it happen.
Yeah, that time in Dallas when he didn't pay for our rooms, we had a huge area that because we would get to design our area and how we would arrange it and everything. We got there and he had sold our area to a fish company to put their fish tanks and have tables so they could talk to people and sell them fish tanks and stuff. And so we hardly had any tables, and we were going to do a Pictionary, and we're going to do trivia, and we're going to play a lot of different games. And like I bought like I don't know if it was 6 or 8 boxes of candy, to give out as gifts. And Aquashella never paid me for that either. That really stunk. So just oh well, that's just but the Clash is a lot of fun. The difference with the Clash is, it's a club event, so it's not corporate at all, and you can learn a lot more because they have great talks at the Clash. They have an amazing fish show where you can bring in they got competition for every single fish under the sun at the Clash. If you've got your favorite fish and want to bring them in, you can try to win one of these medals back here, and that's amazing. It's a lot of fun. Everybody being in the same hotel. This hotel is like in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's like a half hour from Philadelphia, but it's really the town is super small and kind of a crappy town, but it's great for the event because everybody's stuck together. And so I always look forward to the Clash so much.
This is your what for the Clash, that since it's become an event that because it's
What
been
year
going
is
on
it?
for several years. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I wanted to go before COVID, because Scott was trying to talk me into coming back then, so way before COVID, like the 2 years before COVID, I wanted to go, and things came up the 2 years before COVID, and the year of COVID, I was going to go, and then it was canceled because of COVID. So I finally started going after COVID was done, and this will be my 4th year, and I have a booth and everything. It's crazy. I have a lot of fun there. And
Oh, so you actually go as a vendor?
yeah, but
Huh?
I'm not a very good vendor. I I I have a table with Rico, and Rico will be there, and his wife and daughter, they don't really like socializing, having fun because they're not into fish, but they like selling stuff. So
Oh,
we're gonna have them they'll hang out at the booth the whole time because honestly, I didn't want to have a booth. I just wanted to have fun, and my Oinky lives there, so I don't want to take time that I can spend away from Oinky, you know, selling stuff. But it was the booth was a lot of fun, and we're gonna do it again. This time we're gonna have Susie Q with us. So there will be 4 of us in my booth, hanging out, having fun. And I can't wait for it. And I'm gonna bring all my action figures. So like this is Big Steve. I'm gonna bring them all, and I'll put like little name plaques on them, so everybody can see. It, hopefully, I can't make everybody, and I know I'm gonna upset some people, but hopefully, I get you the next year. you know,
oh no,
Fish
don't worry
Rumor.
about me.
He goes, and I would like to make a Fish Rumor, but I'm not for sure how to do it because like
Fish room.
you some characters you can base off of their name of their
Person.
show,
Okay.
or like you had a cigar and just looked tough, so I thought that was cool for you. But like Metalhead is going to have a metal head, and he's a mechanic, so I've got this giant wrench for him to hold, and so I've got like different things for everybody, but it's kind of tough because Fish Rumor is more of a guy that likes to just hang out and have fun behind the scenes. But he's one of the guys that I'm always clicking my head trying to think, how am I going to make him? There's Whip.
Who's
Whip's going to be in my booth with me, and I got his action
Fish
figure. I got
rumor?
Jody
Fish
P's
rumor.
action figure.
I can't place Fish rumor. Who's Fish rumor?
He is a super nice guy. He lives in Pennsylvania. It's one of
Uh-huh.
his clubs that runs it, and
Oh, but he doesn't have a channel on YouTube, right?
no, he just comes and hangs out
Okay.
in the crowd. So,
Okay.
and
Yeah, I
that's
was
what
trying to
makes it a
say, how
little
can
tough.
I not know that name? I was racking my brain. It's like, how come I haven't heard that name? But it's because he doesn't necessarily do content on YouTube. Okay.
Yeah, he just watches and has fun. I see him on Facebook because I see
Okay.
their fish events, and he's always at their fish events, and so I see him then. And like right now, I'm really working on local Austin, and I
Yeah, you
hope
were
it
telling
comes
me.
out.
I know what you want to do with
I
it. I
can't
think it's
wait.
gonna work out. It's gonna be really neat. I think Mike is really gonna like it. Knowing Mike and his personality, he's gonna get a kick out of it.
Yep, I hope. But I am starting. Hopefully, Sabu asks me to come back. I need to call Sabu and talk to him. He does the Aquatic Expo
Oh,
in
okay.
Charlotte, which is also really, really far away from you. But
Yeah.
he would like to turn it into an Aquashella, and maybe someday he would move, have a more than one. But we just got to build this
Well,
one up.
my wife has been wanting to, because recently we had some friends. It's a younger couple. It's my son's best friend, but he lives here where we live, and him and his wife recently went down and they did the run of going to Memphis, Nashville, Louisville, and where else? It's just kind of within that area. They went like for a 4-day weekend, and she fell in love with the pictures. So I told her that next year in Lexington they're going to be having the ALA and the ACA convention. So she goes, "Well, if you want to go, we can go." And
Oh,
so
great.
we might be going to that, but uh, now that I got her to convince to that, I'm thinking, well, do I want to go to that one or do I want to go to the Clash? Because for me, it would be the Clash, but that's me being more selfish because it's meeting all you guys. the reason that she finds that area appealing is because there, I told her, well, once the event's over, um, we can definitely go check out these cities, which I'm interested in that too. So who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe she'll like Tennessee so much that she'll want to move down there too.
Well, that's awesome. But the Clash is really far away from Kansas City or from
Yeah,
Tennessee. I'm
Lexington.
about,
Yeah,
I don't know. Well, Lexington, I'll be at. Lexington's about a 5.5 hour drive for me. But that's because, like, oh, I thought that was Tennessee, but it's a fish.
no, but it is. I was going to say I
I'm
like
at the
that
bottom.
T-shirt.
I'm on Georgia, and Lexington's kind of at the top of Kentucky. But I'll definitely go to
Yeah,
that.
but it's what 5 hours to drive from one end of the state to the other. Probably less than that.
Well, from top to bottom. If I went the other way, it's probably 10 hours because Tennessee's so
Mm,
long and skinny. It's crazy. I'm 8 hours from Nashville or from Memphis
mm.
because Memphis is all the way over by Arkansas. And then
Yeah,
the time zones are crazy because if I go 2 miles north, I'm in Central Time because it goes by county, not a straight line
yeah.
here.
Oh,
And
okay.
so it's so goofy. It's my mom's best friend. They go to
Yeah,
church together and quilt together, and she's always getting her times mixed up because she lives on the other side of the time zone.
oh, I
So,
guess I can't move to Tennessee. It says Whip says Tennessee is all full.
oh no,
No, I've always been
you,
intrigued by that area of that part of the country. It just seems like you guys have the best of all four seasons, and you get to see what an autumn really looks like. Your winters, you get some snow, but it's not like further up north in the country where it's always
oh
under snow.
yeah, I don't have a snow shovel anymore. When I moved here,
Mm.
I've seen snow I think twice in 5 years since I've lived here. But it
Yeah, see,
came down
that's the
pretty.
that's the kind.
It was like 6 inches when it did fall.
Yeah, but that's the kind of snow I can deal with when it's gone, like in
Yeah.
a week. You know,
Oh
the
yeah.
problem is when you have snow permanent and it just keeps piling on and piling on. That's not fun.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I already did the workout of the driving because we're going to drive up there because we want to go check out these places. But it takes me about 15 hours to go from here to Garden City, Kansas. And the reason I'm going there is because that's where Curtis lives. So it's
Yeah,
called
that'd be
Aquatics.
awesome.
So I'm gonna stop and I'll be able to check out his fish room. I think he said he's gonna go to the event or he's thinking about it. So if that happens, then we'll tag along and go up to the event. But now I got to figure out what other stops along the way I can do and check out other people's fish room. Kind of like what Kenny E did a few years back, where he took
Yep, that
that
was
trip
awesome.
across the country. And
He came
I
here.
like to be able to just. Oh, did he?
Yep. He actually spent 2 nights here because he
Nice.
spent the night here and then we went down to Father Fish and collected fish with Father Fish and came back here. I should have just gotten in his car and went with him the rest of the way.
Oh, there you go. Jody says
It would have
she's
been
only a
fun.
couple hours north of Curtis, so maybe I
Oh,
get
that's
to go
awesome.
see all her Hill Scream loaches.
I have Curtis's action figure done. Do you want me to run and get it real quick?
Yeah, let's see it.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be nice. But man, time flies. We're almost at 2 hours. It doesn't seem like we've been on that long. But while he comes back, you guys have been coming in and out. Shovel Snow's worked really well cleaning up piles of pollen and leaves. So yeah, I guess you're trading off one thing for another, I guess. Hey, Jose, thanks for dropping in. Big Steve. Oh, Big Steve just showed up. I don't know if he got to see himself. Oh, it's called
Oh,
Aquatics.
yes. Big Steve's been around for about a year, so look at how big Steve is next to Skull. But
Well,
this
it's
was
Big Steve.
yeah. Well, this was really fun because I was in a hangout with Skull. It was just like him, Skipper, and I. I don't know if Whip was there, who maybe Richard Reynolds. We were just all talking fish, but it wasn't live. So I like asked him everything, and I just let him put together his own guy. He wanted to look like a pirate with a skull face. So that was
Yeah,
the best I could do for a pirate.
you nailed it.
I can't believe though how much smaller he is next to Big Steve. I mean, that's insane.
Well, but that's perfect. It's supposed to be like that. I mean, if you call
Yep.
somebody big, they better be big. It's kind of like Kingpin.
Well, let's see. Look, you're
Yep.
pretty good. I could see you giving Big Steve orders.
I don't think so. Not with that big gun. No, that was the other thing that I remember that I used to enjoy because you've done so many things, and then that's one of the things that I've always found really interesting is you and Rico when you guys had your geek live
The geek
streams and you
outs.
could talk about the geek
Oh,
outs, talk about comic books, talk about and and that's kind of what I've really liked about my live streams is I know we all keep fish, and I guess I could sit here and interview you about your fish keeping skills and what you do. But the problem is, I know there's so much other stuff that you've done, and that's the stuff that I want to get to know because I can go back and watch your channel and get a pretty rough idea of what your level of knowledge and stuff is on the fish keeping side. But like I got to know about your times when you were playing hockeys and some of the things that you did. Getting to know how much you've been involved with the community behind the scenes and all those other stuff. Those are the things that I find really interesting and fascinating because you look at somebody and you never really know who they are until you start talking to them and then you start getting to know a little bit back. But you've got so many different things. Your modeling that you do, and the other thing is, like I said, that is true. You've co-hosted a lot of live streams, but they're always entertaining. You always seem to have uh, this aura about you where you're very easygoing. And it's funny because I was just talking about it that even though you come off as being a very nice person, I know if push to shove, you could probably be very mean, and you just touched on it even without me saying anything about it.
I try not to get cranky. I am, I, you
Yeah, but
know,
we all have our days.
yeah, I, Whip. I mean, he's such a great guy. He never gets mad at anybody. And when we see people fight, we say, man, please, if you see me fighting like that, Whip, let me know, because I don't want to be uh the guy that it's fighting's not worth fighting. Life is too short.
Yeah.
You gotta just have fun. And like if somebody does upset me or something, I don't fight, I just walk away, and it's like, all right, you're dead to me. And let's go on with life and have fun. I know that sounds terrible, but it's a lot better than casting stones and having to hate each other, than it's better to just walk away and then be pleasant to them when you see them.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't I don't mind talking about contentious topics, but there's a way to do it. I mean, you could have a discussion like what you and I are having, and I'm pretty sure when it comes down to it, there's probably a lot of things you and I would probably not agree on. But that doesn't mean that we wouldn't be able to talk about it, express what your thoughts are behind it, and then you could be able to explain what your reason is behind it. And then, who knows? Maybe you change my mind, maybe you don't, or whatever. But it still doesn't mean that we can't have a dialogue. And this is the stuff that I kind of
Yeah.
look forward to because I know there's no way in this world that we're all going to agree on everything 100%. We're
Right.
individuals. But that doesn't mean that just because we have differences doesn't mean we can't get along. I guarantee you there's a lot more stuff that we could find in common and find common ground on than the stuff that you and I could ever disagree on.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's really just in general with everybody. I think we all pretty much are looking for the same things for the majority of the time. There's just little outlier things that we might be different on where our differences are, but that's okay. That's what makes us interesting. It would be so boring if we were all exactly the same.
Yep. Oh, I totally agree. totally agree with everything you're saying. You know, I've had friends on both sides of politics, and I love them both. I've had friends on all sides of different religions and everything, and I've loved them all. It's just, you don't. Some people are hardcore atheists, some people are hardcore Christians, or anything else in between. Everything, and it's like we just all have to accept each other and respect each other's rights to believe in what we believe, and life would go on, and everybody would be a lot happier if we just cared about, you know, you know, what affects you doesn't necessarily affect me. So let's just live that way.
Yeah, that's and even that's why I always find it interesting how people will get uh, so caught up. I guess, but it's just normal nature because again, we're all humans, and there's just people that just like drama, and they'll lean into the drama,
Oh yeah.
and they want to create hate and discontent, and that's what they drive on. But I think for the most part, my experience on here has been that the majority don't really care for it. Um, so it's like whatever,
Well,
it kind of goes to its boom and then it just kind of goes away.
yeah. When I used to be a shop steward at my UAW uh, place, and I was elected every year to kind of be like everybody's lawyer or defendant. I would help defend them against management, and then I would have to break up fights all the time because people would say I'd like to file a grievance against Mike, and it's like Mike is another union guy. You can't file a grievance on him, but if it's really bad, we'll take it to human resources, or otherwise, let's just talk it out and just say fighting isn't worth it. And I mean, I used to have to deal with like 300 people, and half of them were women, and 150 women don't always get along with each other, So, and there was guys that wouldn't get along with each other. Guys would throw fists sometimes. So
But you
I
know
used
what?
to have to deal
It's
with all
funny,
that stuff.
and it's funny that you talk about that because I know when my wife sometimes she comes in here, frustrated because all she works is a bunch of girls. They're all women, and she goes, just how vicious they can be with each other with a polite face. She goes, and it's just it is incredible. She goes, I don't understand these young girls nowadays, where it's just like they're trying to undercut each other. But I tell her when I think it's just got to be a thing of the sexes because with men, we at jobs it's always been mostly men, and I remember a bunch of times where you'd have guys that wouldn't agree on something and they go fight it out, and the next day it was like
Yep.
okay, it's over. That got worked out. It's done. It's in the
Yeah.
past. Then now it's just we move forward. But even growing up in elementary, that's kind of your differences with somebody else. If it boiled up to a fist fight, once you had that, it was done.
Over.
It wasn't like, yeah, it wasn't
And
like you kept coming back to it.
my goal in life was that nobody would report it to management. Management wouldn't witness it, or there'd be no cameras. Otherwise, I'm going through arbitrations and everything. But the guys would be best friends through arbitration and maybe for the rest of their life after. you
Well,
know.
how many
But
times
with
growing
girls,
up
they
did you
never
know of
punched, but they would
how many
just
times
hate each other
how many times
sometimes
have
for
you seen it
years.
where guys will fight and then after the fight they become friends? It's so weird.
All the time.
Don't ask me why that happens.
Well,
I've seen it happen multiple times where it's like all of a sudden it's like, all right, now they become like the best of buds. It's like, wait a minute, you guys were just fine.
yeah. Well,
I don't know. It's
my best friend
sorry.
Puff, I was his best man in his wedding. And Puff, how I first met him was I threatened to beat him up. He had stolen my buddy Jamie's homework assignment or all of his notes for biology. And we were tested on our notes, and he was giving it out to all the stoners.
Mm.
And I was like, and Jamie was crying at the lunch table. And I was like, dude, what you doing, dude? And he said that Puff had stole his stuff. And so I went straight to Puff and I like poked him in the chest and I said, I want all those papers right now. He's like, I already gave them away. I said, I don't care. Are you going to get them or not? And he got them all. And I walked away. And then like the next day he wanted to come over and hang out. And he became my goalie for almost 8 years. Hockey goalie. It's crazy. And his name was Puff, not because he looked like Stay Puff Marshmallow Man, because we named him that because he was so good at being a goalie. He was like Puff the Magic Dragon is what but that's how he got his name Puff. But his real name was Jeremy, and that's just too long of a name to say.
Well, I'm growing up in high school. I don't think everything was nicknamed. If you were playing sports, nobody went by their name. It was always a nickname associated with them.
Yeah,
So,
I was Big Ed through high school. It was always that. But yeah, and we became friends after that. It's crazy.
Well, nice.
So it's true.
Well, we've been on for almost 2 hours now. So, do you got anything you got going on? Because I could go on for another hour. I don't know I try to be respectful of people's time. So,
yeah, I'm fine. Whatever you want to do.
Okay. Now, what are some of your plans now that you are you still kind of in between? I know you're doing your live streams with Whip, but you have the one you do with Skip and Doc and all of them. Are you looking to do anything else, or are you just kind of good for the moment?
I would love to try to do the Geek Out again, because it's a great time for me to paint stuff, and
Okay.
I know that sounds weird, but I've always been much better at painting and doing projects if I have somebody to talk to. I've just always been that way. And I wish that Rico was feeling better and we could do the geek outs, because I miss that. And I keep trying to figure out some type of a geek out show. And just I'd love to see if Oinky would ever like to try to do one where we talk about movies, even just once a month, do a movie review, because that's one thing. She absolutely loves movies, and so do I. We both have the pass. I used to work at the movie theater when I was in college, and I got hooked on movies. And I've been watching movies ever since. I mean, for years I got in free because I knew people at the theater. And then once that passed, then they started making, and I moved away and stuff. I got that pass on my phone, and I can see 4 free movies a week. So I never see that many movies, but I love talking
what kind of
movies and
genre do
stuff.
you enjoy the most?
Well, I love action. Action's my favorite. I like some horror. I love sci-fi. I love, I don't love, the things I don't like are the real slasher movies.
Okay.
I don't care for lots of guts, but like I won't even watch a lot of history movies like Saving Private Ryan and stuff, because I don't like seeing the graphic heads getting blown up and stuff. I say I'm an action guy, but I just don't need to see army soldiers because I like every army soldier there is. If they're an American, they're like part of my family. And when I see them getting killed, it just kills me. So I can't watch those. But I love history movies, but kind of World War II ones I have to stay away from. And the
Yeah.
any new World War II and on, they seem to really get pretty graphic with a lot of their stuff. But yeah,
Well,
I love
I think that
about anything.
that all started happening after Saving Private Ryan, because they tried to make it as realistic as possible.
Yeah, Hamburger Hill was pretty violent, but it still didn't have heads getting blown off. And I don't know. I just think that was where I had to stop. And I did watch. I never watched Pearl Harbor, that movie, because I thought I didn't want to see guys burning to death. But I did watch Midway, because it was actually pretty mild when it came to that stuff. Man, I love
think Pearl
westerns.
Harbor.
Oh my god, I love
I think
westerns.
Pearl Harbor was more like a uh, uh, what was it, like what do you call it? Romantic drama? More than
Yeah,
anything else.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
it
was the
was
same Private
that,
Ryan.
which I don't like that, but I think they had a lot of guys burned up, catch on
Well,
fire,
yeah,
didn't
that's
they, at the
because
beginning? And as
yeah.
soon as that
Well, the
happened, I
attack.
turned it off. I I was like, I watched it for like so long, going, nope, I'm done. But and I love monster movies. Oh, I love classic monster movies. And like the movie Tremors. I don't know if you
Okay.
remember. Tremors
Yes.
is a fantastic movie. I mean, it's so much like an old-fashioned monster movie from the 50s and the 60s, but modernized and fantastic. I think it's Kevin Bacon's best movie. I absolutely love that movie. I love it.
So
Yep.
you're in the same sort of generation I am, but the one movie that just traumatized me forever was Jaws. To the
Well,
point to the point where I wouldn't be able to take a bath in the tub thinking that the shark was going to come up through the drain. That's how bad it got. You know, everything had to be in the shower from that point on. I was no way I was going to sit in standing water because I thought the damn shark was going to come out of the middle of nowhere and you know eat me.
well. Oh, you're too big. You're too big. I got this last week at the movie theater. It's for your popcorn because it was the 50th
Oh,
anniversary. But I love Jaws. Oh my gosh. It's it's probably been my favorite movie of all time, or at least in the top 5. But the one creepy, scary part was when they found the dead body in the boat. When
oh.
they're scuba diving and you see that dead body, that's what freaked me out in that movie as a kid.
See, what's funny because it wasn't until I got older that I realized that the shark really doesn't come out in the movie. It was all
Yeah.
done through the music and all these uh you know insinuate what do you call it? They made it seem they let you know that there was something out there, but you really never really got to see the shark till almost the end. And I didn't
Fantastic.
remember that when I watched the movie as a kid. It wasn't until I got older and YouTube. You start watching YouTube, and they were talking about the fact that how he was able to play on your emotions, even though you didn't see the shark. And I think the problem was they were having so much difficulty with trying to make the contraption actually work that it got to the point where it wasn't by choice that they decided to go that route. That it was because
It
they
works
couldn't build.
fantastic.
Yes,
It was
it was
so
more of a
good.
psychological thriller in that aspect because you didn't know what it was. You knew it was a shark. I mean, you knew it was a shark, but you didn't know that was the genius of that movie is the fact how they
So good.
mentally mess with you. And it wasn't until the very end. And even as a kid, the shark did kind of look kind of fake, but it's and now that you're older, it's kind of like hard to watch because you can see the robot.
Yeah.
But it was more of the psychological thriller because you're just kind of like, where is it? Where is it going to come out? You just started hearing that, dun, 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 like it would stick. It would make the
So
hairs in
good.
the back of your neck just rise because you knew what that meant. And I think that's
Yeah,
where
that was
I think that was the biggest effect was just the the anticipation that it's coming.
well, the movie that affected me the most as a child was Poltergeist. And it was
Oh,
the scene when they're eating the rice and it all turned to maggots. I don't know if you remember that, but I couldn't eat rice for maybe 16 years because I always thought of that scene. It's terrible. Maybe 25 years. I was an adult when I started eating rice again.
well, you see that with Poltergeist, I didn't see that until I was much older. It was already an older movie, and so it didn't. I guess it didn't affect me, but still, having see all those coffins pop out of the middle of nowhere, that stuff,
Oh,
and where the whole idea that the TV sucked in the little girl, and it was, and then by the time I saw it, all the weird stuff that happened on set, the girl dying prematurely, that made it even weirder to watch because you knew all that stuff that had happened by the time I watched it. So I must have been in my early mid teens probably by the time I watched Poltergeist, which was already an older movie. It had already been out for a long time.
It came out in the mid 80s at some point. My sister took me to it. And I don't know how she got in because she was probably only 12 or 13. And it was a rated R movie. And she got us both in, unless she bought tickets to something else and we went in, you know. But I'm like
Yeah.
8 or 9. I was so messed up after that movie.
The
It was
one movie
so
I have
creepy.
not seen, and Whip just put it on there. The one I even to this day I haven't really seen it from beginning to end is The Exorcist. That's the one that everybody talked it up so much that it was so bad that I didn't need to watch it. I just took people at face value. For me, demonic stuff like that it gets weird because it could, is it reality?
Yeah.
Is it, what? Just it kind of, it's too much on that
Yep.
edge where it's like,
Yep.
I don't know if I want to deal with that. I don't want. Same reason I never played a Ouija board. I don't know if it's fake or real. I didn't want to find out. Again, you're
Well,
playing with these weird things. And it's kind of like, is it real? Is it fake? I don't want to. I don't want to open those doors. So that's why I never. And then you hear all the weird stuff also that happened on set for that movie, and I don't know how much of it is true and how much of it is just make it more intriguing. But to this day, I've never seen The Exorcist. I've seen bits and pieces where you would catch where they'd show, but that's about it.
see, I've been forced to see it because I lived in St. Louis for so many years. And it's like, that's the St. Louis movie. So
Uh,
constantly everybody wanted to go see that movie. I went with so many different people to see that at different times. Yep. Oh well. But I really enjoy those Annabelle movies because they're so
I
creepy
haven't
like
seen those
that
either.
too.
I
Oh my
haven't seen
gosh,
those.
they're
I
creepy.
don't think. Okay, I'm trying to remember which was the last horror movie. There was a point where I was just kind of lost interest. Uh, I think it's when they started doing all the after Friday the 13th Part 3. From that point on, I think it's really when I stopped watching. I'm trying to remember which was the last horror movie. I remember watching the Hellraisers, and that I saw like one or two of the Hellraisers, and that was like, okay, no, I don't want to watch this. Um,
There is a fantastic movie out right now that's kind of a horror movie. And it's been in the theaters for almost 4 months because it's done so well. And nobody talks about it. It's called Sinners.
oh yeah, I've heard about that.
It's a phenomenal movie. It's just coming out on streaming services like this week. So anybody out there, if you want to see a good movie, check out Sinners. It's about two twin brothers that are kind of bootlegger type guys. And that's all I'm gonna say because
I think
you
the
you can't
last
guess what's gonna happen. It's great.
see, I don't consider those horror movies. I think they're psychological thrillers, like Get Out. I don't know if you remember that movie, Get Out.
Get out. Oh man,
That
what
was scary.
I just saw something about that like 2 days ago, and I think I wrote it down that I needed to watch it or what the deal was. Because sometimes I'll see something, then I write it down to say, oh, this to the must see list. But I don't think I saw
Sounds
Get
like
Out.
yeah. Get Out is it's I guess more of a psych. It's not you. There's nothing scary. It's scary because it can be something that could possibly happen. Uh, but that one was like a psychological thriller. It's like wow, and I enjoy those a little bit more. I don't the slasher gasher. I watched the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I never saw the remakes. I don't think I've seen any of the remakes. The last I guess slasher type movies must have been the ones with the ghost faced. What were those called?
Oh,
Scary movie? No, not scary movie. That's
yes, it was a scary movie.
Is it scary
That is
movie?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Or
That was
Scream.
probably the last.
Or
No,
was it called
Scream.
Scream?
Scary movie
Scare-
is the spoof side
Comedy.
of it. But Scream. Yeah, Scream. There you
Yeah.
go. That was probably like the last. And after that, I just kind of lost an interest in that genre and I never saw it like Annabelle and stuff like that. I think the older I've gotten, the more I think I don't know, just more susceptible, I guess. I think, oh, that could possibly happen. I don't know. A lot of the when it's the slasher stuff, it's so over the top that it's comical at points. And but when it's more like demons and stuff like that, it's kind of like, I don't know.
I don't want to watch it in my dark house because I don't
No.
want to wake something in my house.
I'll tell you, you know what it was? It was when I started working for the company that I'm now that I had to work graveyard shifts. Once I started working graveyard shifts, I quit watching all that stuff because I didn't want it to be playing in the back of my mind because I had to get out and do stuff. Even now in the building that I'm at, it's creepy as hell, but I don't have a problem with it. It's not like I said, I've seen and felt weird shit in there, but as long as it stays on the other side of the building, we're cool. You stay over there, I'll stay over here. We'll be all right. They know when I'm working at night because everything's lit up. I turn on every single light in that office. There's no darkness.
I don't blame you.
Oh wait, let me see. My wife's trying to get a hold of me. She just got off of work. Give me a second.
Well, while he does that, I'll talk. I saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, and the reason why I saw it was because of Jessica Biel. But otherwise I wouldn't have watched it. And that was a long time ago. I don't know if I would do it again. I do not like the scary ones or the slashers. I like the scary. I don't like and I love monsters. Okay. Do you have to get off?
Yeah, she
Okay.
just called me to let me know that we got to go pick up the grandkids, and I was like, oh yeah.
Oh, awesome.
But
How many grandkids?
like we're getting two of them.
Nice.
We have four. Two of them are in Texas. That's why we go to Texas every summer. Which that's what I'm going. That's where I'm heading up at the beginning of July. So I'm going to be trying to do some stuff while I'm over there in San Antonio, and then when I get back, we'll see what happens down here. But yeah, well, Ed,
Are the kids
thank
in
you so
San
much,
Antonio?
man.
Oh,
Yeah,
you bet. Well, I kind of have artificial grandkids outside of San Antonio.
Oh yeah,
My nephews. I don't have any kids of my own, but so my nephew's gonna have a third one there. So that's cool.
Okay. All right. Well, Ed, thank you so much, man. I'm really honored that you accepted the invitation. I was really looking forward to this. I was so worried that I was a mess today. I told you that we're going to go earlier than we were. I was really looking forward to it, and I really do appreciate you coming on. So, and everybody else that was here with us, thank you so much again. You guys never cease to amaze me how much you guys support me, and you know that to me means a whole lot. So with that being said, thank you guys, and we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.